Everybody. My name is Miriam Wall. I'm the Dean of International Education at Confederation College. I thank you all for joining us here on a fairly cold day, I will say, in Thunder Bay and certainly across Canada. We're in the middle of our winter, and this past week reminds us that that indeed is the case. So quite chilly and quite cold in comparison to where many of you are. So I'm really happy for you to join us this morning. We're going to be speaking about the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, and we are very happy to have Emily Lauzon with us, who is the coordinator for that program in Thunder Bay. As many of you may know, Confederation College is a post-secondary public institution. It's located in Thunder Bay, and we've been established here and educating residents from our city, our region, and internationally for, more than 50 years now. We were established in 1967. I'm just noticing in the chat, several people I know and I have met, so a warm welcome to all of you, especially the people that typically I would be meeting this time of the year. And it's really lovely to see you join us. And I hope you're safe. I hope you're all safe. It's a very difficult time for everybody, no matter where we are in the world. I think everybody is being infected by this, being not infected. That is the wrong thing to say. Affected by this pandemic in many, many different ways. And all of us and our families have been impacted. So I hope you're well and surviving well, that you're safe, and that you will continue to be, as what we hope will soon be certainly a lessening of the current situation as we're all experiencing it. Here at Confederation College, we have also adapted to the pandemic following the protocols of our local health unit and indeed the directives of our provincial and federal governments. But despite that, we have over 1,200 international students studying with us. Most are doing either an online program or a hybrid program, depending on the nature of what they're studying. And that actually seems to be going quite well. We've been very pleased to see the response from international students who are typically reporting that they are both pleased and surprised at how well our online programs are being delivered. I see some people are saying they don't speak English, and I'm sorry, lo siento, no hablo bien el español. So I cannot say more than that. This is not going to be available in Spanish. If you do have questions, if you'd like to pose them in Spanish, we certainly can look at answering them, but it would be in English. So sorry about that. I was saying that the college is offering hybrid and online programs, and we will continue to do that. Certainly, we're expecting it in May, not sure about September. As many of you know, the federal government has been very supportive of international students. And so currently, even though students are studying online, whether it be in Canada or outside of Canada, it still helps with your postgraduate work permit and still will be counted. So that's very, very positive. This May, we have several of our postgraduate programs available. So after you've heard this presentation, certainly if you are interested in continuing with your interest in studying at Confederation College, and then perhaps looking at applying to stay in Canada through one of the many immigration programs we have, please don't hesitate to contact us, and we'll provide the contact in the chat. I'm just going to, in terms of today's presentation, it will be about, we expect around 30 minutes or so. Emily will be providing an update on the RNIP. She'll be talking a little bit about how the first year went, what the eligibility criteria are and how they've changed, the advantages graduates of Confederation College have in applying for this program and why it really is an excellent opportunity for you, and the steps you have to take in order to be eligible to apply. After her presentation, there will be a question and answer session, and we'll also try and respond to the questions in the chat. I would ask that you mute your microphones and turn off your video while the presentation is on. Certainly ask questions in the chat box, but I will say that in the past, what we find is that students and people that are listening focus on asking questions in the chat rather than listening to the presentation, and actually are asking questions that either we have already covered or that we will cover. So I would ask for you to spend the first time just to focus on the actual presentation itself. And then if you have questions at the end, then please post them and we'll be happy to answer them. So with that, I think I'll pass it over to Emily. Good morning, Emily. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And as we have several people joining us whose English is not their first language, just a little gentle reminder to speak slowly. That would be great. So good morning, Emily, and over to you.
Thanks, Miriam. Hi, everyone. I'm Emily Lozon. I work here in Thunder Bay coordinating the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, and I'm always happy to discuss this program with people who are currently living internationally and considering coming to Thunder Bay and relocating to Thunder Bay for school, or maybe for, to make your permanent home. So thanks for joining today. I do want to make you aware that our local website that I'm going to share with you that has the information about Thunder Bay and this program does have a translation option on the website. So if you're having difficulty with the content in English, you might be able to get a little bit of clarity by translating it using the translate section of the website. So I just wanted to make you aware of that if you're following up later on with the website. So a little bit about Thunder Bay. Why would you choose Thunder Bay? What is it about Thunder Bay that we think makes it really special in terms of a Canadian city? As Miriam said, we have Confederation College here, which is a great educational institution, as well as a university that we have here in Thunder Bay. So 2 great post-secondary schools. But we also have a wide variety of schools that are, for children, high school. We have French schools, English schools, Catholic schools. We have many, many educational opportunities here in Thunder Bay for children, as well as great sports, arts, and recreational facilities. We also have the Northern Ontario School of Medicine as part of Lakehead University that trains doctors. So a lot going on education-wise. We're also considered to be quite a healthcare hub in Thunder Bay. There are quite a few employers and medical facilities here. We have a large hospital. We have many walk-in clinics, so lots of opportunities to access that primary health care. Thunder Bay is extremely affordable. Property in Thunder Bay, renting or purchasing homes is more affordable than in other cities in Ontario. Groceries, shopping, and dining out are fairly reasonable. So we enjoy a really nice quality of life and affordability here in Thunder Bay. There are settlement services and government-funded agencies that help to support newcomers. So you might use these agencies for professional development, to learn more about the local area or work on language skills. Thunder Bay has a pretty diverse population. It has a pretty modern feel. here, we have lots and lots of great outdoors to enjoy, which it's a really beautiful place to live. So sailing, fishing, hiking, snowmobiling, these are some of the activities that we enjoy here in Thunder Bay. But one of my favorite things about living here, and I'm somebody who grew up here, I left and I came back. I chose to come back to Thunder Bay to stay and live permanently. One of my favorite things about Thunder Bay is that it's got a very comfortable lifestyle and pace of life. So at the end of your workday, at the end of your school day, your time isn't spent commuting. You get to enjoy the time that you have with your family, your friends, or doing the things that you need to do. We don't have a really busy rush hour. It doesn't take long to get across the city. So you really enjoy the most time that you have here in Thunder Bay. So the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot is a fairly new immigration stream. It's a pilot, which means that it's a new way of doing immigration that they're testing out to see whether or not it's something that works well for Canada in terms of meeting our immigration targets. So this pilot is about 3 years long. But we've seen similar pilots in Canada be extended to 5 years, and it could become a permanent thing. We're not sure yet. That's why we're kind of in the test phase of it. But it's generally a 3-year pilot that is designed to help people help Thunder Bay attract and retain the skills and workers that we need. Thunder Bay is a community that needs population growth, so we need people to move here. And we have economic development and labor market needs, so gaps in our workforce that we're really looking to fill with the skills. And I'll talk more about the skills that we're looking for later on in the presentation. But that's kind of what this program was designed to do. Many people know where Vancouver is. Many people know where Toronto is when they think about Canada, but not very many people think about some of the smaller or middle-sized cities that Canada has to offer. And Thunder Bay is one of those smaller to middle-sized cities that is worth paying attention to. So you can see on this map here where we are. Thunder Bay is in the red circle compared to Toronto or Vancouver. So we're here right on the top of Lake Superior, and quite far away from Toronto, quite far away from Vancouver. So, the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, which you'll hear us we call it the RNIP all the time. Why the RNIP is a great choice for international students or, prospective immigrants to Canada is that it's a community-driven program. We, Thunder Bay, as a community, want you to come here, study here, live here, work here, and make Thunder Bay your permanent home. So this program is a little bit different than other programs because the people in the community, the agency that I work for, and the settlement services here care about your success, care about your career, your family, and your success in resettling here in Thunder Bay. And we're real people who are here in this community that want to help you with the process of resettling and making Thunder Bay your permanent home. Thunder Bay is a great choice because we have many full-time permanent job offers through this program in the skill sets and the priority occupations that Thunder Bay really needs to continue. Another reason why this program is different and also a great choice is that as somebody who participates in the RNIP, you would have access to newcomer and settlement services right away. You don't have to wait until after you get your permanent residency. And then as a community, we engage in welcoming activities. We support professional networking and help with mentorship matching. So there will be community activities to be involved in as well to support your success as a newcomer in Thunder Bay. So who can apply? Who can apply to this program? Well, the federal government sets the overall eligibility requirements for this program, and I'll go through the main ones with you and explain how as an international student, you're really kind of on the leading edge of the people who will meet the requirements for this program. So the main criteria is that you have work experience. This program requires 1 year of work experience, in the past 3 years. There's a special category with this program for international students, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later, but there is actually a policy that allows international students to be exempt from the work experience, so they don't have to show work experience in order to be eligible. So that's a really neat feature of this program that is really designed to help retain international students, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. This program is tied to a job offer. So you need to have an offer of employment. It has to be full-time, it has to be permanent, and it has to be in one of our priority occupations. And I'll get into the priority occupations a little bit later too. There's a language proficiency requirement. In this case, as many international students are required to meet a certain language level before coming to study here. So that language level would definitely qualify you for this program, as the requirements for language proficiency for this immigration stream are slightly lower than others. And most international students will meet that language proficiency no problem if they're coming to study in Canada. So you would already meet that. Education-wise, it does require you to have a minimum education of high school. So coming to Canada to study a college program would automatically qualify you for the educational piece as well. So you would meet the education criteria. Another requirement that international students would be exempt from is settlement funds. So typically somebody who is applying to this program would require settlement funds. So they'd have to show the government that they can afford to live here by having cash in their bank account. International students don't need these settlement funds, because once you graduate from college, you can apply for a postgraduate work permit, which is that open work permit that everyone knows about. This authorizes you to work in Canada, and people who are authorized to work in Canada don't require settlement funds. The intention to reside is the main piece of this program. You have to want to live in Thunder Bay. So you have to show that you want to make Thunder Bay your permanent home. And this is what we call the intention to reside. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we assess that on the next slide. The last and final piece of who can apply is people who receive a community recommendation. So that is a formal letter from our community, from Thunder Bay, that says, we want this person to get their permanent residency and live in Thunder Bay. That's a letter that you would get as a participant of the program, and that allows you to apply for your permanent residency. So those are the overall kind of main pieces of the federal requirements. There is a link here. I don't know if someone wants to share this link in the chat, or maybe we can do that afterwards, but this will link you to the Who Can Apply website for IRCC, which is Immigration, Refugee, Citizenship Canada, where it takes you to the federal requirements. So. sorry, my slide is just not, okay, there we go. So the second part of the eligibility is the intention to reside, and what does the community look for when they're asking somebody about their intention to reside in Thunder Bay. So we have a variety of community factors that are set up as a point system. So when we make a recommendation to a candidate, we are looking at all of these factors of your application. And that's how we will decide whether or not to give someone a recommendation letter. So we look at language proficiency, which you will have already have established. We look at your educational qualifications. So what program at the college did you graduate from? We would look at your job offer, what full-time permanent job offer you have, and what priority occupation it's in. We would look at any previous work experience that you have from back home or that you did during your studies. And then we would also look at what types of connections to the community you have. Now, as an international student here in Thunder Bay, this is really where you have the advantage. Many people apply to this program from all over the world who have never set foot in our community. They don't have family or friends here. They don't have experience living in Thunder Bay. They've never worked for an employer here. So as an international student graduating from the college, you will have experience living in Thunder Bay. You will have studied at one of our post-secondary institutions. You will have developed friends, potentially have family members here. You will have experience in our winters and experiencing what it's like to live, volunteer, and enjoy this community. So these connections to the community, as you can see, we place a very high emphasis on them, right? 22 of the 86 points are on the connections to the community. So this is really an advantage for anyone who is an international student in Thunder Bay. And then we also will look at your spouse, if you have one. We will look at your spouse's language qualifications and whether or not they have a job offer as well. The total points achievable for this are 86, and the minimum that we want you to achieve is 50% of those points. So anybody who has 50% of the points will have their, as long as they meet all of the eligibility, they will have their application reviewed for a community recommendation. So one of the top questions that I get from people who are applying to this program is, what are my chances of being recommended? And I always tell them, well, there's some main things that you need to have in order to have a good chance of being recommended. One of those is the community connections that I discussed on the last slide. But if you've graduated from Confederation College, if you have experience and those community connections here in Thunder Bay, if you have experience working for our local employers, if you have a full-time permanent job offer in one of our priority occupations, you have a very good chance of being recommended. These are the things that we're looking for. These are the things that show us, you're familiar with Thunder Bay, you want to be here, you have experience, you have a really good chance of being recommended. There are a lot of spots, a lot of recommendation spots. Last year we had 100. This year we have 150, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it is. So there's a lot of spots to fill, and these are the main things that we're looking for when people apply. So I'm going to move on to talking about the application process. So step one, you get your education done and graduate from the college. Step two, you would get your 1 year of work experience, or if you graduated from a 2-year program, your work experience would be not required. You can be exempt from that as an international student. But if you're in a 1-year program or you're taking 2 1-year certificates, you would still need that 1 year of work experience. So that exemption only applies to people who are studying in a program of 2 years or more. So you graduate from the college, you get your work experience or be exempt, receive a full-time permanent job offer in one of our priority occupations, apply to the community, get a recommendation letter, and then you would prepare for your permanent residence application. Now, it seems like a lot of steps, but when it comes to the community recommendation application and application for permanent residence, we are here to support you along the way. The organization that I work for, I'm the primary staff person responsible for managing all of the applications. And I have a lot of experience doing it, and I support all of the candidates along the way. In terms of priority occupations, and I will click this link and I'll take you to the website so that you can see a little bit more. But our program was designed to fill some primary occupational sectors or categories. The main one being healthcare. We also have a lot of need for people working in construction and engineering, ground and air transportation and automotive services, management. There's a lot of opportunities for middle management positions in Thunder Bay, and other administrative roles. And then we also have a wide variety of jobs in the food services sector that are being filled. Now, this is just an overview of some of the primary sectors that we are seeing as being the top priority in Thunder Bay. However, the list of occupations that we've identified as eligible for this program is quite extensive. We have greatly expanded it over the last year. And I'm trying to just open this so that you can see it.
Emily, I've posted it in the chat already.
Okay, good. So yeah, it's not sharing when I open it. So when you have the chance, take a look at that website that was posted in the chat, and you can see all of those occupations on the left-hand side under O, A, B, C, D. Those are all of the occupations that we consider to be a priority in Thunder Bay. Sometimes the list changes, but it usually expands. We don't usually take occupations off of it. We usually add to it, if anything. So, so take a good look at that, and you can see what are the priority occupations in Thunder Bay. And the good news is that many of the college's programs match our priority occupations directly. You know, anything from personal support worker, dental assisting, there's management programs, there's culinary school, early childhood education. There's so many college programs that directly match some of the occupations that we are trying to fill in Thunder Bay. But also, there's a lot of educational opportunities with the college that relate to some of the other occupations that we have listed on the priority occupations. So many of the college programs that you'll explore on their website, you know, they relate to the skills and the qualifications that we need in our community. So the link that's at the bottom here is another good one to look at, which is it'll have all the program admissions for the college for international students. So how are we doing so far? So our program last year ran from November 2019 to the end of 2020. Overall, we had 69 successful applicants, which was pretty much right on target for what we expected we were going to do in the first year. So that was actually a total of 98 people when you consider the applicants the spouses, the dependents. So it's quite a few people that ended up getting permanent residency through this program. And you can see that almost half of the people that were successful with this program were in the healthcare sector. The second largest sector was food service, but we did have a lot of other job offers come through this program in engineering, automotive. We had geochemical lab technicians, some administrative services, construction workers, and ground and air transportation. One of the things that is really interesting to note is that of the 69 people that were recommended and were successful through this program last year, half of them were Confederation College students. So we were really happy about that. Con College has definitely played a major role in the success of the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot in the first year. Sharing a little bit about our success in the first year. As I said, we're really happy with how things are going. 50% of participants were from Con College. We saw an increase in the recommendations that Thunder Bay can give out. First year, 2020, it was 100 spots maximum, and now an increase of 50%, so 150 spots for this year. We've seen our priority occupations expand. It was quite a short list in the first year. Now it's a lot of occupations, and we've even opened a new category for people who are receiving job offers in not priority occupations. That's a brand new category that we have opened up for people who are working and living in our community right now. So some of the factors that we think contribute to the success of this program is that, as I said, Confederation College is training, educating, and graduating students, international students, with the skills that our community needs. So it's then very easy for our big employers, and we do have some very large employers in Thunder Bay, to recruit directly from the college. So getting a job offer in Thunder Bay, in one of the in-demand priority occupations, there's a strong connection there between getting the skills at our local college and then being recruited by a Thunder Bay employer. International students have an excellent reputation in Thunder Bay. When you ask around, people always say, you know, they really love meeting the international students. They're hardworking, respectful employees. So there's a really positive relationship between the success of this program and the ideas around international students in Thunder Bay. So that essentially is the overview of the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. But I want to be clear, because I know that so many people, when they hear the number 150, they think, well, that's not very many. And the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot is designed to fill priority occupations. So it's not the only option, okay? It's not the only immigration option that you have in Thunder Bay. It's just one of them, and it's a really good one, and it's very unique to our community. But it's worth noting that there are some other programs that many international students use in Thunder Bay to stay here. That's not the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. So in fact, we had 3 of our people, our participants in the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot in the first year that received community recommendations and ended up withdrawing their application because they were accepted through a different immigration stream. So that's to say, you know, even people who choose to use this program may end up choosing a different immigration stream down the road. The immigration stream that you use is highly personal, so it really depends on your situation. So I wanted to highlight a few others that might interest you that you can look into. One is the Express Entry Canadian Experience class. So that is a very well-known one, very well-known immigration stream among international students, worth looking into. It does require language proficiency, and it requires 1 year of work experience in a skill level that is O, A, or B. Now, that's different than the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, because although we do still require language proficiency, we don't restrict the skill level of what kind of job offer you can have or work experience. We accept job offers in all skill levels and work experience from all skill levels. So the Canadian Experience class is often a stream that students are looking at once they have their postgraduate work permits and they're living and working in Thunder Bay. There's also 2 Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. So the Express Entry is kind of like an overall Canadian program. The Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program is specific to Ontario, so it does have that intention to reside in Ontario. There's a long list of skill sets and jobs that are in demand across Ontario, one of them being personal support workers. So personal support workers are also a priority in the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program. So that's also worth looking at. And the international student stream. So the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program, which we call the OINP, it is designed, it does have a program specifically designed to retain international students. It's a highly sought after program. It opens and closes very quickly, but many international students successfully use this OINP to get their permanent residency in Thunder Bay. So I just wanted to highlight those. I didn't attach the links to them, but again, they're on the federal government website, or you can just search OINP or Express Entry Canadian Experience class to find out more about those programs. So I'd be happy to answer any questions that are being posted in the chat right now, but if you wanted to connect with me later on, this is our email for the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot. You can add me on LinkedIn if you use it. And then if you're looking for information about international college admissions at Confederation College, or you have questions for the international office, the contact information for the international office is posted there as well. And the website at the very bottom of that slide is the Go to Thunder Bay website. It has all of the information about the community and the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot for Thunder Bay. So thank you very much for listening, and I'd be happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Emily. That was very informative. There has been several questions in the chat about how do I find a job in a priority sector, and will any job in that priority sector qualify? Could you respond to both those questions, please?
Sure. So finding a job is you know, a skill. It does take, I think, a bit of work, especially as an international student who's new to the community. I think that planning for your career starts almost even before you arrive, and definitely while you're in school. Networking, volunteering, establishing community connections, meeting people, getting outside of the student bubble and meeting community members, and networking is one of the top ways to find a job. But in terms of the priority occupations, so for the Rural and Northern Immigration Pilot, we do have some employers who post jobs that are recruiting specifically for this program. But the majority of the applicants that we, I wouldn't say the majority, I would say about half of the applicants that we had last year came to us first saying, I have a full-time permanent job. It's in one of your occupations. Can my employer register? What do I have to do? So people are finding jobs outside of school using various job search tools. I know there's support at the college for students finding jobs after school as well. And to answer the second question, the priority sectors it's kind of an overview of those occupations, but it's the specific occupations that are considered a priority, not just the sector. So you would have to check the website, the Thunder Bay website, to see if the specific occupation that you are interested in or that you're getting a job offer in is on the list. Okay, so in Canada, we classify all of our occupations with what's called an NOC code. It's a 4-digit code. And we list all of those codes on our website to say which ones are eligible. If you don't see it there, then it wouldn't be eligible. So, I mean, it's hard for me to advise how to find a job. I don't do job matching with this program. And I won't do job matching with this program. So I don't actually directly take people's resumes and connect them with employers who are in need. It's the responsibility is on the candidate and the employer to connect. But we see a lot of success with people getting full-time permanent job offers in Thunder Bay. So
maybe Emily, I'll add to that. For students at Confederation College, we put on many workshops on resume writing, job search, interview skills. We also have employment fairs. And I will say that the students who actively attend those and follow the advice do very well. The students that stay at home playing games on the computer or chatting with friends do not. So finding a job is indeed a job. It takes time, but for those students who are committed to it and take advantage of all the supports that are available, they do very well. The other piece, just to give an example, as Emily said, the priority sectors are related to not just the sector, but the type of job in that sector. So for example, if you are working for a healthcare facility, as a personal support worker or a nurse's aide, you would qualify. That position would qualify. If you were working as a secretary or a receptionist in a hospital, that would not. So it's not just working in the sector, it's the type of job, the type of skill that you have. And if you look at the website that Emily mentioned, you'll see not just the sector, but all the listings of the types of jobs. So they're skill jobs. They're not entry-level jobs. Now, Emily, somebody had an interesting question, and I think you might be able to answer this. They said, what happens if I study one program at the college, and then I get a job offer in a different area, but it's within the skill shortage list? So I graduate from the aerospace engineering program, but I'm now working as in mechanical engineering, or I graduate from an engineering program and I now am working as a chef. What happens then?
Sure. Yeah, that's a very good question. And actually we do see this happen quite often. So there's two important things to consider with this question. One is that the occupation that you have a job offer in is a priority occupation that's on the list, right? That's a very important piece because that is what makes you eligible to participate in the program. Again, having an education, it doesn't matter what program you study, having an education from the college is one of the federal qualifying factors that is of importance. So the question is, what if your education doesn't necessarily exactly match the job that you're entering? If your education is in is also a skill set that we're looking for. Miriam gave a very good example. Somebody studies aerospace manufacturing, but they're kind of working more in a mechanical engineering or mechanical technician position. When it comes to our community recommendation factors, I'm just going to go back to that slide so that you can see. There it is. So when we look at this second point, the educational qualifications, we're also looking at, is your education in something that we also consider a priority? If so, you're going to get these 16 points. Okay? It's okay if your job offer is not the same as what your educational qualification is. Like for the example of somebody working in a food service profession, but maybe they were educated in business management. The business management and business skills and management skills are something that we consider to be a priority. So that education would get you these 16 points. Then, if your job offer is also in a priority occupation, you're going to get points for that here under the job offer being in a priority. So that is a perfectly acceptable situation to be in for this program. You would still be eligible. In fact, it wouldn't be a detriment to your application at all. It would be an asset. So it's a very good question.
And Emily,
do you think
questions.
that
Sorry, thank you, Emily. Just questions. Many of not many, but certainly some students, especially from certain countries, come with their families. If a student comes with their family, is the entire family then covered if they're accepted into RNIP, or how does that work?
That's also a very good question. So the way that the permanent residency application works is that the person who is the principal applicant is the main applicant of the program. Their spouse, if they have a spouse, and their children, if they have children, also receive permanent residency through this program. So when the principal applicant is recommended, the whole family gets permanent residency. Not parents, not brothers and sisters, not cousins, aunts, grandparents, but a spouse and dependents would also receive permanent residency along with the application. It's also a great question because what we often see is students who come with their families to Thunder Bay and they study at Confederation College, and their spouse has an open work permit and is out in the community working while you are studying as a student at Confederation College. Often what we see is that spouse ends up working in a priority occupation, or maybe has already come with the skills that we're looking for and receives a full-time permanent job offer. And that spouse is the principal applicant for this program, not necessarily the student. So when it comes to arriving to Confederation College with your family, there's a lot of flexibility and a lot of options for the family to participate in this program.
That's great. The other question people are wondering is, how long do they have to stay in Thunder Bay if they're accepted?
So the idea behind this program is that we select people who intend to reside here permanently. This program is designed to retain community members. It's designed to bring people to our community to live here, work here, have their families, participate in the economy, and enjoy the quality of life that we have here. So if you intend to make Thunder Bay your home, you have a very good chance of success here. And the idea is that you stay. So I will answer that question by saying indefinitely. we select people who choose to make Thunder Bay their home permanently.
Okay, and could you just also touch on a little bit about the length of time it takes. So if somebody applies with the support of their employer, could you just go through the steps so students know how long it will actually take then to get their permanent resident status if they are indeed accepted into the program?
So right now, because of the situation with the COVID pandemic, businesses and operations with the government, we are experiencing some delays that we wouldn't normally expect. So, I mean, it is our new normal now to expect a little bit more delays with a lot of things. And there are a lot of factors that are involved in getting your application prepared, such as police record checks, if you have foreign education, getting educational credential assessments, getting your language proficiency tests. So all of that considered, the timeline is about a year. To give you an example, we started recommending people for this program in May of 2020. Those people that we recommended in May received their confirmation it's called an acknowledgement of receipt. The government is acknowledging that their application has been received and now is being processed. They received that communication in January. So it was about 6-7 months in order for the government to acknowledge the receipt of their application and start to process it. The timeline that we've been given by the government is about a year. And the government is very, very flexible with people who are have expiring work permits and things like that. But I have to say that as an international student graduating from Confederation College, you're very well positioned. You're very, lucky to have this program in connection with being an international student, because there's a lot of factors that you don't have to worry about that other people do when it comes to processing, because you have access to the resources that are right here in Thunder Bay to help move your application along quite quickly. The recommendation process usually takes about 4 weeks, but overall, it's about a year to actually receive the permanent residency confirmation.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Is there any cost to this, Emily? Cost to actually apply to RNIP?
So it doesn't cost you anything to apply to the community for a recommendation. We don't charge fees that you have to pay to the community to be recommended. We don't charge the employers anything to participate to support a candidate who's going through this program. Where the fees come in is once you have a complete application and you have been recommended, you do have to pay fees to the government for your permanent residency. There are fees associated with getting language proficiency tests. There are fees with translating documents. There are fees with police clearances. So in terms of getting the application together, there are some fees along the way, but we do not charge you anything to participate in this program. There are no application fees that go to the community.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much. I don't know if there's any other questions now that I'm seeing. Did you speak about an approved employer?
No, I didn't mention specifically any employers. We do have over 74 employers that are currently working with us. They're not all recruiting. Some of them have just used the program to retain some of their employees who typically were international students living and working in Thunder Bay, doing a fantastic job, and the employer does not want to lose them. So they registered for our program and are supporting that candidate in getting their permanent residency. But we do have some major employers, especially in healthcare, that are actively recruiting. We have several long-term care facilities and other businesses that are operating that do home support work. So looking desperately for personal support workers and other healthcare workers to help with their businesses. You know, there's so many jobs in healthcare in Thunder Bay. So you will always see those organizations on our website recruiting for those positions: personal support workers, pharmacy, you know, even other administrative roles in those businesses that are supporting the healthcare sector, heavily recruiting for those positions as well.
And I think just one last question, Emily. A few people have wondered, how long will this program last?
Yeah, so I touched on this a bit earlier. It's a 3-year program. It started in 2019. So, you know, looking at the end of 2022 to wrap up the pilot. But as Canada has increased the targets for immigration, and the goal for immigration, you know, we have seen programs like this be extended. We have seen programs like this, you know, roll over for a few more years after they said it was going to be done. And that being said, you know, I gave you a lot of information about this program, but again, you know, Thunder Bay is a really excellent choice. Whether or not the rural and northern immigration this year, it's a really excellent choice to come as your first experience in Canada. It's a great community. We have great schools, and there are other immigration streams open to you. So even if you arrive and the rural and northern immigration pilot is no longer here, there are those other immigration streams that are available if that's something that you're looking at after you're done your studies.
Okay, well, it's almost 10 o'clock. I think that covers all of the questions that most people raised in the chat. I'm sorry to our Spanish speakers que no podemos hablar en español, pero si quieres contactarse con Educaminos o los otros consultants que tenemos, ellos pueden ayudarse. So again, sorry about not being able to present in Spanish, but the RNIP website is available in Spanish, and you can get a lot of information there. I thank you all for your attention. I really appreciate all the questions and interest, and I would like to say a special thank you to Emily for preparing this presentation, for answering all of your questions, and for all the support she has given, certainly to the college and to our graduates. As mentioned, many of them have been very successful in the program, and Emily has been a great resource to them. So with that, I'd like to say goodbye. If you are interested in the recording from this presentation, you can certainly see it on our Facebook page. It will be posted shortly. And again, for any questions on RNIP, you have the email for Emily and for the Thunder Bay Economic Development Corporation. You can contact them there, or indeed contact Confederation College itself. So thanks again. Many thanks to everybody who helped in setting up and making this presentation available to you all, both from a technical side and the presentation itself. Stay well, be safe, look after yourselves and your family. And we hope perhaps someday that we'll be able to greet you in person here in Thunder Bay. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye for now.